Okay, assalamu alaikum. There you go. Okay, let me start. Bismillah. I hope you can see my screen well. Okay, so last time we discussed about these attacks and explain you. I have recorded the lecture about these types of cyber attacks like DOS, denial of service attack, sniffing, spoofing, man-in-the-middle zero-day attacks. So I've explained them little and in a simple way. The recording is available there on Blackboard. Okay, so let me start from the rogue access point. Okay, the rogue access point is any wireless access point that has been installed on a network wired infrastructure without the consent of network administrator. What does it mean? It means simply is that whenever you install your access point in a company and directly attached with the router or the modem without permission of the administrator owner, it is a rogue access point. Okay, I don't know who is going to ask some of the questions here. Okay, the sound is clear. Sound is very clear now. Okay, so we can say simply the rogue access point is any wireless access point that is installed through the network wired infrastructure, but without a permission of a network administrator or an owner. Okay, so this way we actually make a way for the attackers to get an unauthorized wireless access to the network, wired network. Okay, so most of the time rogue access point are set up by the employees who want wireless access. I mean, they might use it for kind of a different kind of purposes, but might also be malicious. They can also be used maliciously by someone. The consent, I mean, the consent is just to use a network, but can be harmfully can be used by someone else. Okay, so if, for example, if an attacker owns an access point, they can intercept the traffic, I mean the data, flowing through the network. Okay, I mean it happens normally with the coffee shops and on an airport and other public places. So that the people who owns this, they warn the customers. For example, if they have an access point with the name of, like, for example, if it is mine like this, so they may have the same name, but it is not actually belongs to the coffee shop. My access, it might belongs to somebody else. So you think that it is that access point installed by the coffee shop, but that is actually not. So that way you can connect to that might be open. You can connect to that network and they can intercept the data and can also see all of your details there. They can read your packets as well. Hey, Monira, I don't know. I mean, how about the sound? I don't know exactly how many of you can listen to me. Fee, okay. Sharifa said there is a sound here. Yeah, Munira, you might have a problem with your computer, okay? Check it now again. Check it again with your sound card or something might be with the speakers. Okay, that's actually a rogue access point. That's a very simple story of that. So let's start with the RF jamming. It's RF mean radio frequency jamming. So radio frequency jamming or radio frequency jammers is a concept of blocking a wireless device from communicating with other devices. That's it. Okay, so you just block a wireless device to communicate with other devices. Okay, so this is usually done in an environment that require high security, and any undesired communication needs to be stopped. So in or to block the communication between a device and another external devices and equipment, we use RF jammers. So these radio frequency jammers transmit signals of very high power compared to signals from the device that needs to be jammed. So I mean, although they are on the same frequency as the device that is being jammed, but the combination of very high power signal on the same frequency overwhelm the receiving device that makes it unable to decode any target signals. This is how RF jammers works or functions. Okay. Okay, that's the whole story about the jammers. So let me tell you about the very simple detail. RF jammers is something that can help you to block a wireless devices from communicating with another devices. So this is how it does happen. It's happen through the jammers. So the RF jammers transmit signals of very high power. So this is that's compared to the signals from the device that needs to be jammed. But they are both on the same frequency, but they transmit signals of very high power. So that's the high power signals on the same frequency overwhelm the receiving device and makes it unable to decode any target signals. That's the whole story it is. So you know about jamming and you know RF jammers and how does it work? How do they work? Okay. Then we have a simple story about blue jacking and blue snarfing. Okay. So let me tell you one by one each one of that. So the first one is about blue jacking. So blue jacking um, is considered as a cyber attack, but it is less harmful. Why? Because it relates to the Bluetooth device. The Bluetooth device is used to hijack another device and transmit unsolicited messages such as spam. Okay, got my point. So what is actually the purpose of blue jacking? Let me explain you a bit more about this. So blue jacking is a hacking method that allows an individual to send anonymous messages to Bluetooth-enabled devices with a certain radius. First, the hacker scans his surrounding with a Bluetooth-enabled device, searching for other devices. The hacker then sends an unsolicited messages and unwanted messages that's not to the detected devices. So blue jacking also known as blue hacking as well. Okay, got it? So that's the whole story about blue jacking. Okay, let me tell you again. So blue jacking is simply a hacking method through which we send anonymous messages to all those Bluetooth enabled devices with a certain radius, within a certain radius. Okay. So the hacker scans all the surrounding with all Bluetooth enabled devices. Okay. Then send an unsolicited message to the detected devices. That's the whole story. Okay. Then we talked about the blue snorfing. So blue snorfing is a cyber attack where the security vulnerabilities of Bluetooth connection are exploited to access sensitive data of the target device. So this is a little more malicious than bluesnarfing, the bluejacking. Okay, so bluejacking just helps you to send an unsolicited messages to all those Bluetooth enabled devices. But here in bluesnarfing, we exploit the security vulnerabilities of the Bluetooth connection. For what? To access sensitive data of the target device. Got it? And bluesnarfing is simply theft of information through Bluetooth. Hackers do it by sneaking into mobile devices like smartphone, laptops, tablets, or personal digital assistants whose connection has been left open by their owners. It implies exploiting Bluetooth vulnerabilities in order to grab such data as text or email messages, contact lists, and much more than. Okay, so it is easy to become a victim of bluesnarfing attack if you have a habit of using Bluetooth in public places and your phone usually is discoverable mode in a discoverable mode. I hope you got the concept here. So let me tell you a little the whole story in a few words. The difference between now bluejacking and bluesnarfing is that bluejacking is an attack that involves spamming your device with unsolicited phishing messages over Bluetooth. But on the other hand, bluesnarfing is an attack that involves stealing your information using Bluetooth connection. That is what it is all about. Okay, so I hope I have explained you in very simple words about this. Okay, let's talk about wireless and mobile attacks. Then we have to move on WEP and WP attacks. So first of all, we should have to go for wireless wired equivalent privacy. So wired equivalent privacy is a security protocol. So if you open the configuration of the setting of your router and access point, you can see these wireless equivalent privacy security protocol. Okay, this is a protocol that is used to secure your wireless network. In fact, it was one of the earliest encryption method. Okay, so what was the idea? The idea was to provide a level of security for wireless networks. Okay, so this was an idea. So that was the idea, just to secure your wireless networks. The same as for traditional wired network. Oh, they have their wired connection. That was not easy to be. That was not having kind of the security concerns. But whenever you use a wireless connection, so there was some security concerns. So they developed WEP protocol to provide a level of security for their wireless networks. Okay. So let me tell you why is it important. Uh, when a WEP, I mean wireless equivalent or equivalent privacy, got prominent, it was being considered a significant step forward in wireless network security because it was discovered for a basic level encryption to protect data transmitted over wireless connection. WEP encryption used a shared key, which means that only those who knew the key could access the network. This was a significant improvement over open, unsecured wireless network. Got it? So just like that one. Here we have a, okay, but that's not WEP enabled. So if you open the setting of your router, you can also open, you can also enable the WEP protocol. So where we have a shared key, and that is common key. So whenever they need to connect to that network, they need a key. So only those who knew the key could access the network. That was a simple story about this WEP. Okay. So with WEP, all traffic was encrypted with a single static key. But with the passage of time, as the technology has advanced, bad actors has learned how to decrypt this single key. Therefore, they have access to all the confidential transmissions. Now, anyone connected to the secure network would have an access to a single key and therefore be able to read the transmission regardless of if they were authorized or intended to do so. Got it? So that was, I mean, that was actually being considered as a very good step forward for the network wireless security, but now they have security concerns as well because of a static single key. But then, I mean, right after that, when they discovered it is not actually the right protocol or then they introduced another protocol that's called WPA, Wireless Protected Access. And right after WPA, they discovered WPA2. Okay. So WPA, let's start about, you know about WEP, you know about the concern, and you know the concern was what and why they developed WPA. So now let's talk about WPA. So WPA was introduced to replace WEP. Okay. So now instead of authorizing all users with the same key like there in WEP, WPA instead uses the temporal key integral protocol, I mean TKIP. Temporal key integral protocol. So to dynamically alter the key, it means that once we develop a connection, they might send a different kind of a message or a password. That was not easy to get authorized with this because there was not a static connection. Every time you have to connect, you should have to use that the same static key. But here is for each connection, there was a type. They use a protocol that's called temporal key integral protocol to dynamically allocate or alter the key. So threat actors were no longer able to match the static key, single key, as they could with the WEP because the key was now more dynamic and changing. Okay. So WPA also they increase the key size up to 256 bit. Okay, so there they have a message integrity checks as well to ensure the data packets has not been captured and altered by the threat actors. Okay, so this was much more secure than WAP. So WPA they came with the TKIP protocol that ensures the dynamic alteration of the key for each connection. That was not like WEP, so it has more security assurance and they have also a key size of about 256 bit, and they also ensure message integrity checks to ensure that the data packets has not been captured and altered by the threat actors. Right after that, they introduced WPA2. So WPA then also exploited, and was replaced by WPA2. Okay, so WPA2 work or operates on two modes. The first mode, it is called WPA-PSK, or pre-shared key, uses a shared passcode for access. Okay, so that is being typically used in a home environment. I mean, you can see whenever you have your access point or router at your house, you can see the key on the backside of the router. That was WPA2 PSK, pre-shared key. So that was typically used in a home environment. And the second mode was about the enterprise mode. That's called WPA EAP, okay, enterprise access point. So that is basically designed for organizations or business use. Okay, so both modes of WPA2 use the counter mode cipher blocking checking. I mean CCMP. That's called a cipher block chaining message authenticator protocol. Okay, where they used advanced encryption standard like AES is an algorithm, and they offer verification for both message authenticity and integrity. Got it? So it means that, so first of all, we were having WEP. Then I told you what is the security concerns. To counter the security concern of WP, they make you introduce with WPA. So WPA, even though has a bigger key size of 256 key bit, and it was also using a temporal key integral protocol with dynamic alteration of the key. But even though it not being secured, then they replaced WPA2. So WPA2 comes with CCMP protocol that uses an algorithm called AES, Advanced Encryption Standard, and that protocol offers verification of both message authenticity and integrity. Okay, authenticity mandate is being used by the right person. That means connected to the right person. This is the right person to be connected. Okay, then integrity, then the data is not being modified. So AES is replaces TKIP, and CCMP is much stronger protocol that makes it more difficult for threat actors to guess the encryption pattern. That's the whole story about this WEP, WPA, and WPA2. Okay, let's talk about defending against wireless and mobile device attacks. How we can defend ourselves against these wireless and mobile device attacks. So look at this. Most WLAN products use default setting. Like for your access point has default setting. So normally most of the people knows about that default setting. So threat actors may take advantage of basic wireless security features such as authentication encryption by changing the default gun. So you must have to change those settings, not to be not to be not to be exposed by or can be threatened, and not to be executed attacks against these routers and access points. To make sure about this. Okay. Then the second one, restrict access point placement with the network by placing these devices outside the firewall or within a demilitarized zone which contain other untrusted devices such as email or web servers. Demilitarized zone is a physical or a logical subnet that separates a local area network from other untrusted networks. Understand? So you should have to restrict access point placement within the network. put it into a demilitarized zone, and you can separate them from the local area network. So then we have WLAN. You can also net scrambler. This is actually a tool through which you can discover rogue access points or unauthorized workstations. So look at this. Just to stop this, you can define a policy or guest policy to address the need when legitimate guests need to connect to the internet while visiting. Like in a university, students, they can never use, they can use their network, but they can never be able to trace or discover rogue access point in unauthorized workstations. So for authorized employees, utilize the remote access virtual point private network for WLAN access. Okay. So you should have to define a policy for both of these users, like for the guest and for the employees, authorized employees. To which these are some of the recommendations just to defend against these virus and mobile access points. Let's talk about now the application tags. We have a cross-site scripting. So these are application attacks. Okay. So cross-site scripting is an attack in which attacker injects malicious executable scripts into the code of trusted application or a website. Okay, that's very simple here. What do we do here? The attacker injects malicious executable scripts into the code of trusted application or a website. Okay, that's so dangerous. So attackers often initiate this attack by sending malicious link to a user, and the user needs to click on it if the application or the website lack proper sanitization. It's not being verified. The malicious link executes the attacker's chosen code on the user system. So what will happen at the end? As a result, the attacker can steal the user active session cookies. So this attack can capture the keystrokes. This can also be used to redirect a user to a malicious website. This can also be used running web browser-based exploits and crashing the browser. This can also be used to obtain cookie information of a user who is logged into a website. Thus, they can compromise the victim's account. That's called cross-site scripting. So that's the whole. So this is a very simple way. Now we have a code injection code. This is also code injection attack. Cross-site scripting is also being considered code injection attack. So code injection attack is simply a technique through which a threat actor uses an input, okay, or for example, inject a malicious code which takes advantage of the validation flaw in the software. Whatsoever the data is being inserted, is it accepted by that application, accepted by the website, okay? So it is not being sanitized, if it is not being validated. So each kind of, so through which you can inject malicious code using advantage of validation flaw in the software. Okay, so that malicious code is usually injected in the same language as the target application and then executed by the server. Generally, application that uses unvalidated input data may be vulnerable to code injection. So what happened at the end, web-based applications are the dominant target for threat actors using these kind of techniques. They normally use these kind of techniques for, especially for the web application or the websites. Okay, so we can say these code injection cyber attacks typically exploit weaknesses with the data validation. Data validation issues may include data formats, the amount of data expected, and types of character allowed. Okay, so I mean, they expose the weakness of the data validation. Then let's see about the buffer overflow. It is very simple. A buffer overflow, I mean, this is actually a buffer that's allocated for some kind of other kind of a memory. So how it overflows? So data buffer overflows occurs when the data goes beyond the limit of the buffer. It means that the data is more than the area that is allocated it for. So the buffers are memory areas allocated and for an application. By changing data beyond the boundaries of the buffer, the application access memory allocated to other processes. So this can lead to the system crash, data compromise, and provide escalation of privileges. Okay, that's what it is. We can simply say, so this is, for example, this is a buffer zone, and this is being allocated for an application. So if that buffer is overflowed, the data is, we don't have a place here in that box to be placed. The data will be stored outside the buffer. So there might be some other applications. So in that case, this can disturb other application or application itself. So that still says kind of a system crash or data can be compromised. Okay, this is called buffer flow. Got it. Then we have a remote code executions. So remote code execution is vulnerabilities. I mean, allow cyber criminals to execute malicious code and take control of the system with privileges of the user running an application. This is also being considered as these are all code injection attacks as well. Okay. So remote code execution allows a criminal to execute any command on the target machine. Understand? Then we have an ActiveX control and Java. ActiveX control is being, I mean, they were developed by Microsoft and Java for, I mean, that JVM, Java Virtual Machine, that belongs to Java. And both are being, I mean, these are the controls. In Java, they have their own controls. Understand? So they have their own controls. So ActiveX control actually is a pieces of software. ActiveX control. If you have a Visual C++ or Visual Max, they have these controls. These ActiveX controls. I mean, we can say it is a piece of control. We can design these. We can use these controls to design an interface of an application. So these are software installed by the user to provide extended capabilities. Okay. Third party, this is third party writes some ActiveX controls and they may be malicious. So there is a chance they are malicious that this can monitor browsing habits, install malware, keystrokes. So ActiveX controls also work in other Microsoft applications as well. So these, I mean, ActiveX controls, if it is being developed through a third party, so that might be malicious, and they can also help, and they can also monitor your browsing habits, install malware and keystrokes. I mean, other malware attacks can be executed. Then we have a Java. Java operates through interpreter that is called JVM. So JVM enables the Java program functionality. Okay, JVM virtual machine is actually a compiler, just like other compilers. So JVM works as a compiler to execute its code. So the Java JVM sandbox or isolate untrusted code. So JVM, that sandbox is actually a set of rules that apply to all Java code running in the JVM. Okay, so this to rest of the operating system. Look, these sandboxes, they have certain set of rules. They can isolate untrusted code from the rest of the operating system. They're not going to disturb, the other processes that's written on them, that being processed on the RAM or in hard disk. So these are vulnerabilities which allow untrusted code to go around the restricted imposed by the sandboxes. Okay, so okay, I have question here. Yeah. Yes. Hello. Yeah. Hello, Abdurrahman. Hello. And can you hear me here? Well, hello. Okay. How about Monira? Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. That's all. It's okay. I don't know. I mean, she might. There was a girl like Halud. She was looking for something. I don't know what it is for. Okay. Okay. That was all about this one. And let's see defending against application attacks. How we can defend ourselves. So the first line of defense against these application attack says write a solid code. I mean, we don't need to be add such a kind of. We need to be very strict whenever we're writing a code. Solid code means, I mean, not to write down those lines that might help you to execute that attacks, or they can be result into a kind of a buffer overflow. So there are kind of attacks. So whenever you write a code, you make sure that it's not going to be overflowed. Okay, then I mean the other kinds of attacks as well, like for example, remote injection code that can be used by other attackers to execute that application attacks to inject code, regardless of the language used. The source of the output or prudent programming practices. Actually, prudent programming approach is to establish a design and identify the security requirement for each of the feature of the design. So they make sure the security feature of that. Okay. So validate all input as they are of the house style. So whenever you write down, I mean, for if you have an interface where you're going to write down an input in form of numbers, characters, so make sure that the right input is being fed into that part of that field. Okay, so keep all software included operating system application up to date. So install all those patches. Okay, so never ignore those updated prompts. So not all program update automatically. I mean, so at least, at very least, always select the manual update option. Okay, so never allow others. So these kind of practices you should have to make sure that it is although to get, I mean, to defend yourself against these kind of application attacks. Now we have just 1 minute. Nice, 9:39. I have another class at 9:45. Inshallah, this activity I will record it. And now chapter number 3, I mean unit number 3 is gone. Halas. Okay. So next, I mean that's on this week on Thursday. I will record this activity, and I can also start unit number 4, part of unit 4, number 4. But your midterm right after Eid al-Fitr Ijazah will be from these 3 units. And it is very, very important. These activities are important, very important. And these activities are very, very important. I hope you will keep concentrating on all these activities. That might help, not only help you to pass this course, but to go for high grades. If you are interested in to have higher grade in that exam, go for the activities. So you should be well informed of those activities and should be on your fingers. Okay, so inshallah, Hind, if I'm calling your name, okay. 1, 2, 3, inshallah, okay. That's it, inshallah. If you have any problem, any concern, any email, any issue about the course and regarding your midterm, please let me know through WhatsApp or an email, okay. So I will appreciate, and inshallah we'll be having very good time. I hope all of you best of luck for your midterm. Inshallah, Sharifa. Okay, hope good, inshallah. So see you, inshallah. Have your nice time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.